Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. Um, Clavius Crater is an area that I am going to be going back to often enough because there's so much around the crater itself. We're looking right now at Clavius Crater and geomorphology. Ah, something I've been looking into. Of course, it's a study of understanding the terrain, but before I get into this study and subject interesting field. This is the terrain again around Clavius Crater, and what I'm pointing to right now are the areas where there are haze. So it's obstructed, the view's obstructed, but you can see there are lit objects underneath the areas inside of the haze either way. And you'll see other different views of it, the terrain, and an overall good look. This is photography, obviously, and I have filmed Clavius Crater very often, nice and close, but obviously, due to the magnification technique and light technique, I am able to get clear detail, outline, and get closer because of this technique. I'm not doing it with a telescope, but it's a photo taken with my NexImage 5 on my telescope. Look at the teeth marks again. These are structures. We're seeing um, clouded surface over top. This is Blankinus crater, right directly um, behind, over top, if you want, of Clavius crater. To the right was Shiner crater, and to um, the complete right, the bigger crater was Longomontanus. Where are we now? We're behind Sinus Iridum, with the massive so-called, of course, crater, which is and has been known forever on the side of the moon. But look at the surrounding lit areas. These areas we're going to go see in detail. And here's a nice photo, post-processed, natural color, sinus iridum at the bottom. But at the top, and when we get close, we can see that these objects that are lit are geometrically formed and shaped. They're on the surface, they're elevated, and there are many details around them surrounding these objects. When you look in the back here, look at the mountains and mound-like areas at the back of the moon here. Very close in here too, we can see blue cities again. And why do I say blue cities? We can see what seems to be geometrical structuring that is blue. We can see here at the top now with the light. And that blue light attracts me to that area and shows me that there are structures in that area. And it's how I'll go about trying to clarify the image. What am I pointing to? Because there are more structures there too. You see that yellow square in the center there. At the top, it's a square shape, geometrical shape. Everywhere else where it looks hazy is because it just is hazy. Underneath the haze, we can see other colors and geometrical forms and shapes. Look at the outline of the outer limits. Look here at the bottom. One, two, three, all the levels. Geometrical shapes. The levels are straight edged. And here the terrain, the different colors. And here, look at the levels. There, we just saw it. It's a little moment that we saw it, but we just saw the entire terrain. You could see the outlining of these massive lit areas, and it's just, why are you seeing light? It's because with what I'm throwing right now, it's many different levels that we're seeing and different rows of um, whatever they put there as platforms to make the surface terrain. We're seeing the outline of the surface really well here. I'm really happy for this. And why? Is because it just coincides with what we just saw. This is the back of Sinus Iridum, and we're seeing a detailed view of the structuring, but we don't see it this way with just a regular view. There are many things missing. We'll see the top here perfectly, but the center seems to be just a gray area. It's because the cameras and our eyes are picking up just this overall white light surface. You see the cloud is forming over the surface of the moon, and it's serving as a blanket that we can't see through it. But when we look through it, like here, we can see the structures, levels, tunnels, pipes, etc. even towers that are on the surface. And of course, they don't seem very big here looking at this way because it's so far out. Guys, we're talking 3 to 400,000 kilometers away, so they say. Another beautiful outline here in blue, all the structures that you can see at the top here. They're coming out, great detail, by the hundreds, by the thousands. The surface of the moon is entirely filled with geometrical forms and shapes. Whether they be buildings and or mechanical objects, they are clearly there. Here, amazing. What is blue is the structuring that is invisible. Imagine. But I can see it, and I can see it here in my regular photos, and you can see it here in the light. All the geometrical platformed areas, whether it be natural platforming, that like they grab the dust or earth that's down there, obviously, and just throw it like we do here with machines, pile it up and just build on it. It's just we're not seeing them do it on the surface. We're not seeing the activity because obviously these buildings that we are seeing, like here, this isn't a building. These squares are not buildings. These gigantic squares that are hundreds of kilometers long are where the cities are formed, built, and shaped on top of them. And we're seeing white structures, but in reality, there are not just white structures. There are very, very colorful structures on the moon. We can see here, it's where, you know where this is? This is where again, the supposed spaceship is. We just saw it bottom left. We'll see it again. It's the area all surrounding around it. And many, many colors in this area. Pipes, tunnels, I'm sure on the surface. You can see, again, geometrical shapes, even square buildings, massive complex areas, industrial smoke. Look as we're backing out here. It's an overhead view of a surface terrain of color, just like here on Earth. It's not that much different. If you look at topography, if you look at surface terrain photos, um, I mean, NASA and scientists do it themselves. They have the red elevated levels. They do this kind of scanning. It's just that it's not accessible necessarily to the public. But hey, whip it up at home, eh? This is old school. This is taking time to look through and try every possibility of editing, filtering, etc. Look at the surface. Look at the surface. This is another exposed area that we have never seen again. And again, this is between what we're seeing. It's just little crevices and cracks, but we're so close that the crevice is now as wide as a full 54-inch screen. There's a reason why I film a screen. Filming a screen, not all the time, but when I do, using the filtering, etc., and all the process that I'm doing, it's showing us geomorphology. Very interesting. I was up all last night studying a good part of this. It's a scientific study of the origin, and we're talking about the evolution of topographic and bathymetric features created by physical, chemical, or biological processes operating at or near the Earth's surface. Geomorphologists, the ideal of this is to understand why landscapes, this is what they're trying to do, and what I'm trying to study is understanding the landscapes, why they look the way they do, and to understand landform history and dynamics, and to predict changes through a combination of field observations, physical experiments, and numerical modeling. What's going on is geomorphologists, they work within disciplines such as physical geography, geology, geodesy, engineering, geology, archaeology, and geotechnical engineering. This is all these fields that consist of being able to understand and through experimentation and all these processes be able to understand the surface a lot better. Takes a great many fields. Whew, I need four brains to understand just the surface of the moon. Selenography, selenology, the study of lunar surface terrain, basically lunar science. Another study I'm looking into, just never ending, but helping me a lot and finding better ways of applying my filters properly. Astrophysics, astronomy, astrology. I've looked into quantum physics. I have to admit I had a stall there. Wow, brain freeze. It was a bit too much for my intellectuality. But look at this outlining. Are you seeing it? We don't see it with the gray photos though. We do not see the surface terrain with the gray photos, but when you look closely, you do. There are many ways of and techniques of getting the surface. Many channels are doing so. John Leonard Walson got a pyramid yesterday. Go check out his video. Amazing video. Look here, guys. The surface terrain here. The color that we're seeing over these supposed craters. We're seeing greenery. We're seeing many colors. It's overwhelming. And these crevices, look at the structuring inside of the crevices. These massive high walls, what looks like walls, or ridge-like mountainous straight-edged crossings, if you want, that get from one end to the other, and structuring all along it, geometrical shapes at the surface all along it. We're starting to see it ever so clearly, more and more each time I reapply the technique and I learn more about it. Here, the surface is so colorful, and I know it's very overwhelming for many, and people are like, well, how's he getting that color? It's ridiculous. He's adding color. He's coloring structures. No, there's actually no color added. It's the closer you get, the more it's colorful. The more you zoom, the more you have color to play with. Can Polo, brother, thank you. I love you, man. I can't thank you enough. You contributed $15 to the cause so that we can get up there and get that darn telescope, the bigger telescope. Can, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. These are the channel contributors. Of course, they will be up there on my video on the channel forever. The link to the campaign for the bigger telescope will be in the description of this video. Bruce Schwartz 75 acommercial@gmail.com. Drop me an email, guys.